I just found out a few hours ago that as of right now, there is a brand new Modest Mouse album, and I am super excited. So today, we're going to be listening to The Golden Casket by Modest Mouse. Hello, everybody, and if you're new here, welcome for the very first time. If you've never seen any of my album reviews/reactions before, know that what I'm going to basically be doing is hitting play and listening to this entire album from front to back for the very first time and talking over the music, giving you my thoughts in real time. So if you don't have a copy of the album, which as I said already, I believe this album is brand new. I just found out a while ago that this album came out today, and like I said, I'm super excited to listen to it. But if you don't have a copy of the album, like me, because I just found out about it, and you want to listen along with me, I will include in the description of this video a link to listen along with me on Spotify, which is actually how I'm going to be listening to this album today. Also in the description of this video will be timestamps for the different sort of sections throughout this video. Normally when I do one of these type of reactions and / reviews, I'll talk about the band a little bit beforehand, then I'll go through, listen to the whole album, and at the very end, I'll give my sort of review or sort of overall thoughts of the album as a whole. So if you want to skip to any particular song or to the very end to hear what I think about the album as a whole, feel free to go ahead and do that. Now, as I said, normally when I do one of these videos, I'll talk about the band a little bit beforehand, and I try to do a little bit of research, get everything sort of down, and basically think about it quite a bit before I film a video like this. However, as I've already said multiple times, I just found out that this album came out. Had I known about this beforehand, which I'm a little disappointed in myself for not knowing that this album was coming out, but had I known about this album coming out beforehand, I probably would have pre-ordered the album on Amazon and gotten a physical copy sent to me and recorded this video in a few days once I got it in the mail. However, because of circumstances and because I found out about it and I feel like recording a video today, I'm just going to go ahead and do it without any sort of preemptive thought, which, like I said, I like to put a little bit of thought and effort into my videos, talk about the band a little bit. In this case, I don't have that much to say. All I will say is that I have all the Modest Mouse albums that I have here. I don't think it's every album in their catalog, but it's most of them, and it's certainly their most recent, I believe, 4, which is sort of their sort of bigger albums. However, I say their most recent 4, I believe their last 4 albums have all come out in the last 20 years. Their last album, which is called Strangers to Ourselves, this album was released back in 2015, and their album before that, their most recent album before that, which is my absolute favorite album in their entire catalog and is in my top 10 favorite albums of all time, We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank. This album was released in 2005, so these two albums were a decade apart, which is really interesting when you think about a band's catalog. I'm not sure if they were broken up in that time or what. Like I said, I don't know that much about Modest Mouse as a band. I know that their singer's name is Isaac, and I know that he is probably my favorite part of this band, even though I love every different aspect of the music, and I'll get into that in a second with what I like and what I don't like about some of their albums. But I also have their album, I believe this is sort of their big breakout hit, Good News for People Who Love Bad News. This is their album. I have the deluxe edition here that came with, it's a dual disc that actually came with, like, there's a DVD side that has the music videos and enhanced audio and stuff, which is really nice to listen to. But this was their album when they hit it really big, and they had their huge song that everyone knows called Float On this album. That's how they sort of came onto my radar, I guess, at the time when I was back in high school, which this album came out in 2004. So actually just a year. Well, this is the deluxe edition, so it may have been 2003. It says 2004, and it also says 2005 on here. Oh, and this is 2007. Okay, so I'm so dumb. See, here you go. Now you know exactly how much I know about this band. But I'll get into that in a second. So 2004, 2005, 2007, 2015. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a roadmap. And of course, like I said, Float On, their huge song that put them on my radar and that I kind of found out who they were through that. And then in 2007, this album came out, and I should have remembered that because I remember listening to it when I was in college. And I went to college for audio recording, and I remember specifically listening to this album in the studio at the college that I went to. We had really, really nice setup in this big, very quiet, big acoustic room that we used for recording drums and things like that, but we also had class in it. It was a very, very, very amazing, like, several $1 million studio that was built in the college that I went to. And I remember sitting and listening to this album and absolutely being floored by the quality of the audio and the production. Which, again, if you've never seen one of my videos before, know that I will probably be talking about the production a lot, the sounds that I'm hearing, the way they were maybe recorded or created, and how everything fits together to make what is this song. I don't know anything about this album. Like I said, I have heard no singles or anything. And when I say this album, I mean the new one, the Golden Casket. For all I know, this album is like a crazy punk album, or this album is like this weird prog thing, like who knows? And that's kind of one of the cool things about Modest Mouse, is that they're the kind of band that you could expect anything from them at any moment. You could expect a really heavy song with heavy guitars. I mean, not necessarily metal, but you could expect something that's a little bit more heavy and intense. And at the same time, you could expect just a beautiful ballad song. And all of these songs, no matter what type of genre the song would fit into, it's always going to have this like quirkiness that is Modest Mouse. And I believe a lot of that quirkiness comes from the singer, the vocalist, Isaac. As I said, he is one of my favorite parts of this band. And he, to me, is one of two vocalists that like perfectly encapsulates a vocal style that basically, I don't know how to explain it other than to say that in certain songs when he's singing, it sounds like he is just insane. Like not that the vocals are like insanely talented, which they are, and I'll get to that in a second, but he has this style that just like it sounds like he's just that he's like he's a ticking time bomb ready to explode at any moment. Like it's so erratic and so jumbled, and it's very gosh, it's so hard to explain, but there are two singers, like I said, this Isaac guy from Modest Mouse, and then Des Fefara, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, from Coal Chamber, and also the metal band Devil Driver. These two guys have this like, they just sound crazy when they're singing, and I love it. I think of all the different sort of vocal styles in the world, this has to be one of the toughest to pull off. You know, if you watch a movie and a character, the actor or actress has to act insane or crazy, that often is extremely hard to pull off. And I think with Isaac's case, this must just be sort of like a natural, maybe extension of himself. I'm not sure. I'm certainly not saying that he's crazy. I think with all of their music and the way they put it together, there is certainly a very cool element of genius to all of this. But just the intentional, I'm not sure even how intentional it is, but this sort of like erratic, sporadic style of how at any moment he could just shout or be very quiet to draw you in. It just is very it's very erratic. I know I keep coming back to that word, but that's just sort of the way that I describe it. And I don't know what this album's going to be, but as I was saying a little bit ago, I love this album. We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank. I think it is one of the maybe top 5 produced albums I've ever heard. It is so phenomenally recorded. If you've never heard this album, please go listen to it. The drums sound so fantastic. There are amazing sub-frequencies added or that were recorded with the drums, but everything sounds so crisp and clear and quiet. And it sounds intense and heavy when it needs to during the parts of the songs with little bits of distortion here and things like that, sort of a tape or analog sort of distortion, which works very perfectly with their sound. The guitars are nuts. The guitar player for this band does things that I think other guitar players would be scared to put into songs without being labeled as like weird or something. I don't know, but there are these weird bends that they do. I feel is sort of like a signature sound that the band has, these weird bends that make the songs feel sort of the songs that they're in, at least make the songs feel there's like these dissonant notes to them, makes everything feel a little bit uneasy. Like a song will be going and all of a sudden there'll be these sort of like bends or dissonant notes happening, and it kind of makes you feel like a little bit weird. And I love that. I love all that stuff. It adds to the overall atmosphere of each song that you're listening to. And so I love this album so much from front to back, top to bottom. I believe it is a perfect album. Then, as I said, 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I guess at this point, they released Strangers to Ourselves. And I was really excited about this album. I knew about this one beforehand. And I had a little bit of time to build up. I had heard a little bit of a single, but I kind of try to, like, even before I did videos like this where I did my reactions, I would always try to sort of wait, not hear too much of an album that I was excited for, get it on CD, put it in my CD player, sit down in a quiet room with my really nice headphones and just listen to it and really appreciate it for what it is. And I did that with this album, and I have to say that I was disappointed. There is a little bit, there's one of the things that I enjoyed about We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank is that the song structures were, for the most part, pretty typical, and that's what I enjoy with music. I like songs that are verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, out. I like that typical ABA style songwriting. And I don't mind it if you write a really long song, but I always feel that the song should at least go back to the chorus at the end, if nothing else, and sort of leave you with something that you can maybe sing along with. Not that everything has to be catchy, but that's one of the things that I enjoy about music. And I feel like this album had a little bit more of a sort of a progressive nature to it that kind of probably actually harkened back to some of their earlier albums, like The Moon in Antarctica, or even, The Moon in Antarctica. I actually have 2 copies of that one. But some of their earlier albums that I'm actually not that big of a fan of. I think that there's just a little bit too much weirdness there. And I know that kind of contradicts what I was saying about the vocals, that I like his sort of weird style. But I think when you take these sort of weird, unconventional elements and you put them within a structure that is something that's easily understandable, if you're listening to a song, you can kind of imagine a roadmap in your head of where the song's going to go. I like to be able to imagine little bits with little curves in the road that surprise me a little bit, rather than just taking a straight left or right turn and going in a completely different direction. I can certainly enjoy that, and I can see the technical merit that would be in that if a band can just switch styles like that. But I like to be able to kind of look ahead and know where I'm going as I'm listening for the very first time. So we'll see. I know this has kind of been a ramble, and I wasn't planning on talking very much at the beginning of the video, but I've actually never talked about Modest Mouse on camera before. Unless if I said that, they're one of my favorite albums of all time. And I will say as well, I am 90% sure that I have We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank on vinyl. And I looked through my entire vinyl collection. I looked through this entire cabinet here. I have a box of vinyl behind me where I keep all my sort of special vinyl. I could not find it anywhere. So I just kind of picked 2 random ones to put on the shelf up here behind me. But I really wanted to have my vinyl of We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank behind me, but unfortunately I couldn't find it. Again, that's neither here nor there, but one other thing I want to mention before I get into this is just that I'm going to be listening on Spotify with my tablet. And I have done a few videos like this before in the past, and it is a big pain because there can be ad after ad after ad. I only have the free version of Spotify because, as I said, if I listen to this album and I love it, I guess I should maybe say it like this. If I listen to this album and I hate it, I probably will not get the CD version of it. But if it's even like a kind of like, or all the way up to like fantastic greatest album they've ever released, I'm definitely going to get this album in CD form. So that's why I guess I should say I don't feel too bad listening to it on Spotify for the first time. I'd like to listen to it as high quality as I can, and obviously Spotify is not super high quality, but it should be good enough for me to react to and to get sort of a vibe of everything and to hear the production aspects of everything. So I'm going to be listening on Spotify. There's going to be some ads. I'll try to do as good as I can to cut everything out that's not relevant to everything that's happening, but let's just get into it and see. Another thing that I have to mention, and this is an unfortunate thing, I have been having so many problems with the connector of my headphones. Not to get into it and everything, but generally what I've found recently has been working for me is I have this little stereo splitter go into that and then into my tablet. So you may see me throughout the video sort of jiggling the cable and messing around with trying to get everything a little bit arranged here. That's because my cable has to be in the perfect position to play in stereo. Otherwise, it can be mono or just left or just right, which I know is super weird, but I'm not going to get into all that. So with all that said, I said I have my Spotify pulled up here. I'm going to be hit play, and we may get an ad. What I'm hoping is we get an ad right away, and then it'll give me 30 free minutes of unlimited listening without commercials. So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen. So I'm going to hit play right. Hold on, let me turn the volume up. Yeah, I'm hitting play right now. Okay, and it's starting. Okay, sort of a weird bass frequency that sounds almost reversed or something. There we go. Okay, very close sounding vocals, which is exactly what I wanted from this. I do not think the production on Strangers to Ourselves was as good as We Were Dead Before the Ship Sank. So this is what I wanted. I want very good production. Stupid headphones. There we go. Also, I should mention, I've mentioned in many videos before, I'm not a big fan of swearing in music. It doesn't ruin it for me by any means, but the first song is called F Your Acid Trip, so it is what it is. There we go. The bass sounds great. I can't remember if I've ever looked this up before or not, but I do remember reading something about Isaac having a bit of a lisp. And to me, that just adds so much character to the way he's singing. And in several of their songs, they do this very close-mic'd style of vocals that really almost accentuates his lisp. And that's what's happening here in these verses of this first song. I love it. I think it sounds great, adds character to the song. The sort of bass thing that started out the song being spread like that, kind of, it's like a warbling almost from left to right, ping-pong panning almost. It's gone during the chorus here, which I'm glad they're doing the chorus for the second time here. The background vocals are great too, just Isaac overdubbing, I believe. I don't hear any additional band members singing, but occasionally I believe the guitarist does do some background vocals, and I enjoy that in their songs as well. Adds a different element. Oh, I love it. The bass has a nice round sound to it. Very nice. Not very plucky at all. Okay. So we have some electronic elements happening here. Some like ringing, high frequencies. Okay, it looks like this song's almost over. So that song was just verse, chorus, and that's it. So that's interesting. I'm hoping there's a few longer songs on this album. Okay, so we are now on track. Okay, we are between. I love the kick. It sounds massive. Twangy guitar in the middle. I love that. I'm a big fan of Dwayne Eddy, who is known as the King of Twang, the Godfather of Twang. And if you're unfamiliar with him, look him up in any of his work from the 50s, 60s, 70s, all the way up to his most recent album, I believe, that came out in 2010. He's in his 90s now. He plays on some Dan Auerbach things. Love the productions that I'm hearing, though. A little bit of a sort of a strummed guitar on the left with a muted, palm-muted, picked guitar in the middle. The drums sound fantastic. Bass just doing sort of a pumping. And the vocals sound dry and close. I love it. This is reminding me of the production of We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank. It's a little hard to tell with my headphones and the MP3-ness of the file, so I can't tell exactly if I think it's as high a quality or high fidelity. Oh, love the background vocals. Very big. That's a very modern sound. Very gang vocally in the back with lots of reverb. And the bass was doing on the quarter notes in the verse, and now that's just 16th notes in the chorus here. You can still very clearly hear Isaac's upfront lead vocal in the middle, but the background gang vocals are all spread out, very big sounding with the reverb. Now there are some electronic drum elements happening as well here. Oh, I love that. His phrasing of the vocals there reminded me a lot of some of the songs on We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank. Love it. Love the difference in feel there from verse to chorus. You can really hear the hi-hat going, but also there's a snare happening when Okay, they pumped up the vocals there a little bit, the background vocals even more. Oh, yes. Give me a guitar solo, twangy guitar solo. I love this. I love this. If this is indicative of the album as a whole, which, as I said already, Modest Mouse, one of the cool things about them is you can expect anything. Now we've got a shaker going. So we've had shaker, hi-hat, and tambourine so far as sort of the rhythmic sort of snappiness kind of pushing the song forward along with the drums. The snare sounds great as well. You can hear the room in the snare, which is what you want. Not in all genres and all styles of music, but this. Okay, having everything going, just some synth pads in the background with the vocals. My glass is sweating quite profusely. Okay, we're lucky. Track 3. I wish they would have gone back to the chorus a little bit more there, had everything come back in one more time, but that's okay, I'll take it. Okay, so here we have, behind his voice, we have a whisper track that sounds like it has a stereo delay on it. Okay, the guitar is plucking notes that aren't specific notes. It's just sort of like an empty broken string. Not a broken string, but I'm not sure what you call that exactly. A non-note pluck. And it's giving it almost like a tick-tock feeling from a clock. A lot of background vocals here. A lot of different things happening with the vocals. Oh, yes, and the drums kick in. That snare and kick sounds so good. The bass and the drums are very groovy in this song. It's a nice, slow groove. Sound like we have a little bit of a fuzzy guitar off to the left here. Okay, repeating part. Just going and keep going. That's very Float On, that's what happened at the end of Float On, of course. Just building. I believe that's a trumpet, which they have used brass in their songs before, so that doesn't shock me or surprise me. Okay, the guitars are just doing sort of like fuzzy pad stuff on the sides, and it's just growing, blooming. Whole song feels like it's just building. And he's doing multiple vocal parts and then having them play almost in a round, just repeating. A bit of a synth-based sound there almost. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. This is the whole song here, and that to me felt like it should have been like bridge outro to a song that was 2 minutes longer before that. Just having it as its own song, a little disappointing there. We'll see. Okay, track 4. Starting off with some interesting percussion stuff. It started with the clap. Okay, interesting. Again, that guitar on the left that was happening there, the lead guitar, it just sounded Modest Mousy to me. There were some bends in there that just made it sound very Modest Mousy. Okay, now for this song, we've got all sorts of weird things happening. Blips and bloops and all sorts of electronic elements. Lots of percussive things happening. We got a shaker now. You know, the guitar is on the right side is a little bit percussive, just kind of playing single notes. Or single strings, I should say. A little twangy. Fast vocals. Ooh, this sounds very different. See, now I see this song is 3 minutes long. We're already almost halfway through the song, so I doubt we're going to get a third chorus on this one, but... And again, I don't want people to get mad at me for that and dwelling on that, but... It is something that's important to me, my personal tastes. Okay, I love the sort of almost hip-hop-y vibe of his vocals here. Very rhythmic. Not necessarily just fast, but putting emphasis on the rhythm. Ooh, that low drone, synth-based drone. Love it. Oh, that's cool. Okay, and back to some claps and different percussion elements. A build up in the back of a programmed kick drum. Drums and everything coming in. Now you really hear that snare really has a stereo room to it, room verb on it. Okay, and back to the chorus here. Love that. There might be some female backing vocals in there. Very distorted vocals. Works nice with this, though. Gives it a very open feel. Okay, a little solo with that synth bass continuing. We only have 20 seconds left in the song, so... This is reminding me so far of the most recent Gorillaz album that really disappointed me as well, because every song just felt like little section, little section, little section, little section, song over. Little section, little section, little section, little section, song over. Not really very much structure put into everything in terms of coming back to the moments you like. Okay, track 3 is over. Or that was track 4. Track 5, I believe now. This is Wooden Soldiers. Oh, boy. Yes. Okay, it's going back to that sort of low, very intimate voice that he does with the octave below overdub as well. Both very dry and right there. This is what they did during the bridge of one of my absolute favorite songs, Missed the Boat from them. Song Missed the Boat off of We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank. Very close and intimate sounding. Oh, that guitar is very weird, very plucky. I assume that's a guitar. It's got some weird effects. Again, here we also have sort of like a washy effect that's happening. It's going wah, wah, wah. Ooh, and everything goes out. Oh, yes. Very cool rhythmic things happening here. Love that little guitar lick in there. Very cool. Not very reminiscent of Modest Mouse, though. Very cool, though. Everything goes away. Just some little bell-type sounds on the side. Again, with stereo reverb. Excuse me, there are a lot of things happening in all these songs so far, mixing-wise, to make things feel wide at certain points. Very interesting things where you can have a very short, close delay and have the delay signal be on the opposite side of whatever the origin of the sound is. Oh, there's some female backing vocals. This is a very plodding song. It feels very, you know, it's very, oh, I love it. If I had the CD version of the album, I would have read the liner notes and hopefully found out the name of this woman singing and anything that's going to happen on certain songs, try to shout out those people, but I didn't have that. But that's okay. We're here to listen to the music. Shout out to anybody who contributed to this album. Obviously, I don't know if anyone from the band or anyone will ever see this video. Probably not. But if anyone ever does, just know, so far, from what I've heard, the production on this sounds fantastic. Oh man, that's sort of like almost like teeth chattering. It sounded like percussive elements that are kind of flying across the. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Oh. And then here come the kick and the snare. Yep. An acoustic strum guitar, giving it almost like an Old West feel. Having this sort of tinny sounding, very roomy sounding effect. All of these sort of percussive elements sound like they could have been recorded in a big, nice space that sounded a little bit tinny. And that can add a really cool effect and sort of atmosphere to the song. They could have all been recorded very dry, and then they could have put some sort of reverb or spring reverb or something like that on it afterwards. But however it was done masterfully. It very gives the song a cool, plodding, very loose feel, because everything feels like it's almost rattling or just like lazily played. And that's great. Oh, I love it. Oh, these rhythms are just so... The vocal melody is just so Modest Mouse. It reminds me... there's a lot of throwbackness to this for some of my other songs of theirs that I like a lot. And I love that. Oh, violin. They are such a creative band. And even on the stuff of theirs that I don't particularly care for as much, you can hear the creativity, trying to get the most out of their instruments. And they have the ability now to go into the studio and add anything they want to because they're a big enough band. I definitely don't think that they're like all millionaires or anything like that. And I don't know what their record label situation is or anything like that, if they're just releasing things independently now. But you can tell with an album like this and the way everything sounds, like they didn't set many limitations for themselves, and I love that. No third chorus on this song either, but it is a little bit of a longer song, and I appreciate that. But it is fading out, which anyone who knows me will know that is my biggest musical pet peeve. I cannot stand when a song fades out. I hate it, in fact. Okay, transmitting, receiving right now. This song is 5 minutes and 40 seconds long. And I just got an ad that'll let me listen for 30 minutes with no more ads, so we shouldn't have any more interruptions on this. A 6-minute long song, though. I'm anxious to see what this is. So we're starting out with a guitar that sounds pretty far backwards. Almost sounds like it's coming from a different room almost. Now this is interesting because the previous song did fade out, and this one is... It's not exactly fading in, but it's definitely giving me that feeling that it's building. Okay. Okay, now the vocal here is doing an interesting thing. Okay. Okay, very interesting. There's different vocal takes doing different things going, so the vocal sounds like it's going from the left to the right, left to the right. That's also a very Modest Mouse thing to do. It's very disorienting. I love it when he uses his lower octave voice. I love that. Is this going to be another song that's basically just building the whole time, repeating? Okay. No cymbals or anything like that so far. Just kick and snare and a little bit of toms. Okay, his vocals in the middle are now the sort of melody that you latch onto that continues, and his vocals that were established at the beginning of this song that are going back and forth kind of are just a constant now. My ear is not really, it's hearing them, but it's not really focusing too much on the words that are happening. It's just become a part of... Okay, the whole feeling of the song changed there. Everything in the background went away. Kick in the snare, and we have... very interesting delay effect there happening with a very warbly effect, slow delay, almost an echo. Sounds very psychedelic. I'm hearing that sound that's that sort of... it's been used before. There's like, it's almost like a toy machine that has like a robot voice. Very cool. Man, there's so many things happening. It's hard to follow. Somehow, yeah, we've gotten back to the point of the song where it's the first sort of couple minutes of the song. We have vocals happening that are sort of sporadic in the back, and then we have the through line, the melody line of the vocals being sung. Nothing in this world's gonna petrify me. But also along with that, there is this very this feedbacky sounding guitar happening. And that's sort of a constant. Okay, that went away. Okay, now we're back to the sort of psychedelic section. I love what they're doing with the vocals. It's like they have some sort of a distorted delay on, and then they're just like turning it up and down. I would assume like using the some sort of a pedal on the vocal track to like take certain phrases and words and have it kind of bloom. Very interesting. Okay, now everything went away. We still got about 35 seconds of this song left, so that's cool. There we have some cymbal crashes. And it is very sidechain compressed, which is okay. It sounds nice in context. It's possible that was happening early and I didn't really even notice. That might be one of the things that's giving it this sort of psychedelic-y effect, this sort of washy effect. Oh no, this song's fading out too. No, Modest Mouse, don't do this to me. That's 2 songs in a row that faded out. Don't do that anymore. Okay, the sun hasn't left. This is 4.5 minutes. Love this so far. Cool little beat. Got a neat little, some synth stuff going. Love it. Very playful sounding. Yeah, that drum beat. Love it. That hi-hat. Oh, yes. This is very Gorillaz, yeah. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love this. That beat. That marimba on the left a little. And then that sort of electricity sound almost in the middle. Love it. Yeah! Those big slides on the bass. Dirty sounding bass. Oh. Oh, this is great. This is the best song on the album so far. Female vocals again back. Chorus again. Yeah. Yes. Oh, give it to me. And we're halfway through the song. Please let them go to the chorus a third time at the end. And don't fade out. And this will be a perfect Modest Mouse song. What are you going to do now for the bridge? Give it to me. Give me a guitar solo. Give me something weird. But not too weird. Trumpet. I will say of all the bands that I listen to and enjoy, Modest Mouse does have some very enjoyable lyrics to me. Okay, there's some cool things happening here with the mixing, like frequencies going away. Okay, the high frequency is just fading out. Okay, so they did a sweep, an EQ sweep there. But the vocals are still there. Now we have like a big background sounding vocals, big gang vocals in the back. Please come back. Yes! Yes, we have attained victory with this song. Yes! Now, don't just loop and fade out, please. Love it. Oh, it's building wonderfully. Adding a little tasty trumpet in there. Yes, please don't fade out. I love it. I love this. This is top Modest Mouse song. Not the top, but one of the top Modest Mouse songs I've heard. Victory! You have pleased me. Thank you. Oh. That is one of the top songs of 2021. Okay, very interesting digital effect there. I love it. This is a 5.5-minute song too. Yeah, you put all the weird 3-minute songs at the beginning of the album, then give me the second half of an album. Cool. I love the little rhythmic thing that's happening in the background there. The drums have come in now doing some toms. But that's sort of like lo-fi drum beat almost that's in there. Love it. And it sounds like there's maybe some very low, long, drony notes that were done on a bass or a cello, maybe. Something that sounds like that. Could be guitars or something doing a more synth pad sounding thing. A lot of panning again. The stereo image on this album is very, very important and integral to what you're hearing. Where everything has been placed where it has for a reason, and there's a lot of movement, which is actually something that's difficult to do when you're making a song, to have something swish across the stereo spectrum can be super distracting, and it can sound really fake and weird. But all the movement that we're hearing here in terms of your ear being drawn from left to right is just masterfully done, this whole album. So very good. And Modest Mouse does such a good job of doing that, drawing your ear from one side to the other, even if things aren't going back and forth. Shifting your focus of where you're perceiving the action, as it were, to be happening in a way that is sort of disorienting, but intentionally disorienting. Yeah. A lot of reverb, a lot of effects on this album, and I enjoy that. That is a thing that they have done in the past. One of the things that I liked a lot about We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank was this sort of quietness, the cleanness of how everything sounded. There were some brilliant sounding acoustic guitars on that album, and even the drums and things, any sort of effect or weird thing they had was very dry, and it gave the whole album a very quiet feeling, even though there were things that could be happening that were pretty intense. It didn't feel washy at all. It felt very clean and dry and crisp, and I enjoy that. And this album, to me, so far is having a lot more of a rounded feeling to the way it was mixed. I'm not hearing a lot of like super high frequencies, and part of that could be my headphones. Part of that could also be listening through Spotify, the free version of Spotify with the MP3s. So I'm not hearing a ton of like super high frequencies, and that is actually pretty common for a lot of music that's more sort of acoustic and organic based, to kind of just round everything off at the top. That's why a lot of people love the sounds of old vinyl and records and everything, because there isn't anything shrill happening. Everything was rounded off due to the limitation of tape and vinyl and all these different things that I'm not going to get into. And nowadays, of course, all music has bass just being pushed. Just the music and everything, headphones, beats, things like that, are all made to push the low frequencies and not necessarily take care of the high frequencies without making them distort or sound shrill. So that's why it's important to always try to listen to music on as high a quality equipment as you can if you want to hear everything the way it was meant to be heard. Sorry for that little diatribe. This just sounds like a Modest Mouse song. I'm enjoying it. Again, there's a big thing that's happening that's sort of washy sounding, and that's, to me, sort of the theme of what we've been hearing a lot throughout this album. There you go, having something happen over here, and its delay is over here, so it gives this sort of womp, 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 womp sort of sound. His vocal's fantastic, as always. There hasn't really been a track so far where he's really let loose with just a lead vocal line and just done this sort of crazy, insane style that I know that he does. But we'll see. This album has not had a very like rock band feel to it at all, which is interesting. I'm not minding what I'm hearing. It feels a lot more laid back. I'm hearing a lot of Gorillaz in this, which is interesting. I was not expecting that. Though if I think about it, it makes sense contextually. Nice. Just giving this song some time. A lot of percussive things happening. Nice. Very intimate vocal there. Very nice and close mic'd. Okay, now we're to Never F a Spider on the Fly. Interesting. Another 5-minute song. Now, the fly thing is interesting because on We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank, which I know I keep going on and on about that album, but that's how special that album is to me. There's a whole song that has, the point of the song, I believe, is that the guitar sounds like a fly, but this beat, baby, give it to me. Very cool, something happening off to the right, and it's got a delay on the left. There's a heaviness here. The drums sound so good. The whole album, the drums have sound fantastic. Every percussive element has just been fantastic. Just perfect. The vocals on this song very distorted, and that works some of the time, and it doesn't work all the time. And I don't like it when vocals are too distorted too much. In this moment is very, very, very guilty of that. Way too much distortion on the vocals. But when you have it on, even you can have it on a whole song, even a 5-minute song, if it fits the style of that song. But if you just have song after song after song with distorted vocals, it's a little too much. Okay. Some cymbals coming in. Love it. Much more sing-songy right now. Isaac does that so perfectly, going from this sort of like a manic sounding, almost maniacal, like drunken sailor type sound almost, then going to a very straight, now we're singing. Now you're hearing melody. You're hearing a very nice, wonderful vocal melody. And it really helps separate the sections of their songs. Mm-hmm. The vocal rhythms are great. Get some like sound effects in this song too, almost. This song also has a bit of a plodding feel to it. And again, we have a signal on the left side that's kind of going wop, 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 wop. But its delay is on the right side, so you're getting this wop, 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 sound. It gives the whole thing a feeling of swaying, like a motion almost. I'm hearing some room sound on the right side that's not necessarily on the left, so they may be doing some things with room microphones and whatnot, and I love that. I think that gives me the fidelity and the sound that I'm looking for from them. That's some like Peruvian throat singing in there. Very cool. Yeah. Oh. Love it. Fade out, but that's okay. It was still a nice long song. I got multiple sections in there repeated. That's cool. Don't like the fade out though. Not a fan of that at all, as I mentioned. Okay, leave a light on right now. 4 minutes and 18 seconds. Here we go. Some interesting like mouth sounds, almost like. Very cool. Ooh. We're having some sort of digital distortion effects there on the drums. Oh, love it. Like a little horn thing. Bop, 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 bop. Love that. Could be a guitar, just a single guitar note. Man, this is great. This is exactly what I want from Modest Mouse. You know, I could maybe choose to have them be a little bit more straightforward with their song structuring. But this is what I want from them. I want good vocal melodies, good melodies all around, creativity with the rest of everything you're hearing. Yeah. Cool warble effect on the vocals there, especially when they're referencing from a different planet. Yeah. Oh, I love it. That straight note. That bah on the snare hit there. Love it. It's like an organ stab almost. I love it. Oh, this is good. Oh, what a great line. I mean, some days they have burses, some days they have hearses. She works where the nurse is. What a great line. Oh, I love that. I love that stab. I love it. Oh, it's so cool. What a cool melody. What a cool rhythm. Very cool. Oh, that sounds like almost like a wet sound. With some guitar there, and love it. Yeah, give me some of that. Give me some guitar solo. Just do it. I want them to go back to that chorus one more time, but I don't know if they will. Everything is slowly sort of taken out one by one there every 4 measures. The point where we've got almost nothing happening here, but a woo, almost like a siren warble sound in the back. Is it going to come back in? Yeah! Victory again! Shaker. Again, the background vocals here are very verby and in the background. Half tempo. There you can hear the like room mic, I assume, with a little bit of the sub kick in there. Yes, love it. Okay, Japanese trees. We're on. Okay, this is another 3-minute song. Seems a little bit more straightforward with the way everything's happening. Hear the... Oh, that sounds almost like a koto, or what? It's a Japanese instrument. I don't know how to pronounce it. So it's very oriental. And then some sweet distorted guitar off the left. Okay, the distorted guitar on the right as well. And the guitar on the right is being offset with the guitar on the left as well, but also some toms on the left, it sounds like, too, which is nice. You always have to think about balance when you're mixing a song, and this is perfect when you're listening to this because things are bouncing around a lot, but it also still feels very balanced. Female vocals on the right. I want this song to have 3 choruses, but I don't think it's going to. I guess one of the reasons that I can see this happening with them is that Modest Mouse tends to have a chorus be the length of a verse. So you're having maybe a twice as long, at least maybe. Okay, back to the chorus. But what I was saying was a lot of modern pop songs will have a verse and then a half chorus, then verse 2, then a full chorus, then bridge, then full chorus, maybe double chorus out. They don't really tend to do that as much. Full chorus every time. And then just having the song be structured verse, full chorus, verse, full chorus, then pretty much that's it. Interesting. Now we're at the end of this second full chorus here, and we still have a fourth of the song to go, maybe a fifth. So I think they'll just sort of kind of keep the energy up, and then it'll be over. Rather than having a section in there, an additional section in there. I feel like that's what some of these songs are missing, these shorter ones. They're missing a bridge section where things change and then can come back to home base, as it were. Very cool, though. Like this song. And I guess I should mention as well, we're getting here to a new track. I don't know what our track number is. I'm looking at just the individual songs here. Okay, back to the middle. Let's look at the whole album as a whole. It doesn't have the song. Oh, this is the final song. Okay, this is the final song. Interesting. Okay. I was hoping from the final song we get something really weird and different, and a ballad maybe, because there hasn't really been a ballad on the album. Love it. That was very cool. There's a very cool sort of rhythmic thing happening there in the middle that I don't know if it was some drum beat or something that was taken and some effects were put on it. Very cool. Whoa. This is definitely the heaviest moment of the album, I would say. Big, thick bass, distorted bass, just huge. Keep adding on top of it. And that guitar part doubled and panned. Or one track with a stereo delay on it. Okay, where are we going to go with this? This is the last song on the album, so it could go anywhere. Okay, just came right back. A lot of guitars on this song doing things that haven't really been done a lot on this album so far. There's like a... Sounds like a vocal thing that was taken and then chopped and had an effect on it. Very cool. Could be done with like a vocoder type of thing. Oh, actually, it could also be a turntable type thing. Very cool, however that sound was made. Very cool. And then it's big again. Yes, I love the heaviness of this. Okay. Very nice. Do it a third time. This would probably be a very fun song for them to perform live, I would imagine. All these songs would probably be interesting to hear live. I don't know if they have like an additional person maybe on tour with them doing additional auxiliary percussion things like shaker, tambourine, all this stuff. The drummer can do some of those things based on the arrangements of the songs, but having an additional person to do that would really help fill out the sounds of everything and add a lot of percussive elements to their live show that wouldn't necessarily be forced to be done through tracks. Okay, yes, that is the end of the album. I'm a little disappointed with that being the final song, but okay, so overall, I'm happy. I'm very happy with that album. I'm surprised that it was as melody-based as it was. I didn't really hear a ton of the sort of weird wonkiness that I would have expected. However, there was weirdness in there, just in a slightly different way, like I said, than I had expected. I think that, okay, it's interesting. I will say, definitely I like that album better than Strangers to Ourselves. I do not like that album as much as We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank. I mean, anyone that has watched this video knows how much I love this album at this point. And comparing it to that album is, in my opinion, it's very important because to me, that's the gold standard for Modest Mouse and the gold standard for recording in a lot of in a lot of different ways. I do think I maybe like that album a little bit more than Good News for people who like Bad News, but that's kind of tough. I enjoy this album a lot, but not necessarily a ton. So I'm kind of thinking of it in along those lines in my head in regards to how much I like it. So I loved the production throughout the whole album. I think they took a few interesting risks. Like I mentioned, there were a lot of elements that felt very washy, and there were a lot of things that were happening that would draw your ear to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, very rhythmically. And as I said, when I was listening to certain of songs, that is something that can feel very gimmicky and can be very distracting, and it can also feel very disorienting. And if that sort of a effect, that sort of washy effect, is not done well, it can be so distracting that it's not a good thing. Whereas I feel like on this whole album, that sort of washy feeling to me is sort of the theme of the whole album. And I feel like it was done very, very, very well, very thought out. And that's something that was all done, I assume, in mixing. That's all done in post. That's all done after the songs and everything were recorded. And maybe the band got together in the studio and they kind of helped create those elements and everything. And then it was, I don't know if something like that was something that was planned in advance or after the fact, and it just sort of grew to be a sort of a central character for the way the whole album sounds. Vocally, I think there were a lot of vocal overdubs, which is something that I do expect from Modest Mouse and from Isaac, and I do think that everything was done very, very, very well. There were several moments on the album where he used his like sort of lower octave voice, very close to the mic, very intimate sounding, mixed with his regular octave voice. That's something that Justin Furstenfeld from Blue October does as well on occasion to really, really, really cool effect. And that was done here many times, and I really love that effect on his vocal, that his vocals give the song, when he does that, a very particular feel, and I love that. There were many, many moments where the background vocals were gangy sounding, very reverby, very roomy sounding. It sounded like a big group of people in a big room, even though it wasn't necessarily a group of people. It could have just been one or two or three backing vocal tracks. And they all it sounded like they may have all been done by Isaac, with the exception of the few female vocals that I heard, which I loved. I love that. I've said in different videos before that I think backing vocals, gang vocals, and overdub vocals are one of the least appreciated elements to all music. Backing vocals and overdub tracks and gang vocals and shouts and things like that are so integral to having a song reach that upper echelon level, that next level of professionalism, of technical, prowess, things like that in terms of singing and all that stuff. And just that is such an important element. And these background vocals on this album were done to perfection, I think. There were a lot of additional takes. And that's something I've kind of always wondered about Isaac and how he sings. Like I was saying at the beginning of this video, he has this sort of like crazy manic style. And when you sing like that, would think it would be very difficult to have lots of overdubs and things, because if you have that sort of a discombobulated almost style, having two different takes might not work very well together. You're not necessarily trying to duplicate exactly what you did. And that's why, and so doing multiple takes, having overdubs like that, like he had throughout the album, I imagine that could have been difficult. And that's why I've always sort of wondered, like, how much of a master of his vocals is he? Like, how much mastery does he have over his singing? Because he sings with such a very unique and specific style that he must be in total control the whole time, or it would be very, very difficult to do overdubs, I would imagine. And everything sounded great vocally. Like, none of the vocals really ever were distracting or, didn't sound right, like they fit where they should have. And that is what I expect from Modest Mouse. But like I said, I would love to know more about his mastery of his vocals, because it sounds to me, like I said at the beginning, that there is a bit of genius in all of this, and the vocal arrangements and how everything fits together. I love the female vocals. Like I said, I think that's really important. Guitars, there were moments where the guitars sort of stood out and did cool little things in the verses. The bridges, the choruses, the guitars, I don't think really stood out to me very much. There were not a lot of big sort of like chuggy, heavier parts. That happened in the last song, but not really throughout the album too much. Though for most of the songs, you could really tell what was a chorus and what was a verse. And I talked about structuring so much, I don't want to go on about that now at the end here too much, but song structures are so important to me, and having the songs not be structured the way that I really want them to. I really feel like half the songs on the album, if not more than half, felt like 2/3 of a song. And I would have really enjoyed having that last third there. That's one of the things that I love so much about We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank. This album, the song structuring is perfect. The song structuring is perfect. The audio production is perfect. The performances are all perfect. The arrangements are perfect. Everything about this album is perfect. I believe it is a perfect album. And so that's sort of what's in my head while I'm listening to this. I know the potential that this band has because I've heard it already. I've heard them at what I believe is their best. And so every time I hear one of their songs, I want it to reach that peak. And I know maybe that's not fair on them. They want to grow as artists. They want to do something different. And it's on me for expecting that and wanting something that maybe they're not going for with their songs. And I get that. But with what we got, I'm still really happy. I do think that I said a lot of the songs felt like they were 2/3 of a full song. You know, I wish a lot of the songs were structured verse, chorus, and then it wasn't necessarily repeating the chorus. It kind of was, and then letting it build, adding an element, and just kind of existing for a while, and then it kind of petered off, and it was just kind of done, and then go into the next song. So that's a bummer to me. That's something that I really feel like if these songs, if what I just mentioned had that additional third to the song, gosh, this would have been such a great, fantastic album. Like, the only thing I really have to complain about is the song structuring, which is something that's way better than I expected it to be, because I did not care for the song structuring as much on Strangers to Ourselves from 6 years ago. And so, just interesting. I feel all energized because it's like, this is something I did not see coming. Like I said at the very beginning of this video, I just found out about this album a couple hours ago, and I was like, do I feel like doing a video today? Yeah, I guess I kind of do. It's a crappy, hot, rainy kind of day outside here in Nebraska, and so I was like, let's do it. And I feel pretty good. I feel good about it. I feel really excited. I definitely will get the CD version of that. Have to go order it maybe in the next couple of weeks if I let a couple albums build up on me, But man, what a cool album. What a cool, I always have all these, as you can kind of tell from listening to me, I always have all these sort of expectations when I listen to a band or an album from a band that I'm already familiar with. I bring a lot of baggage, I guess you could say, to when I listen to an album from a band that I'm familiar with. And I love it when a band surprises me, and they do it in a good way, because a band can totally surprise you and do it in a bad way. Some of the albums I've listened to on this channel, like the last Blue October album, for example, they made a terrible choice, in my opinion, with the production of that album, and it ruined the whole album for me. I haven't really listened to that album at all since it came out, because it was so disappointing to me at the time. And that production choice kept that album off my top 12 albums of the list last year. this album right now, so far, I'm saying right now, as of this point of the year, that album is this. Shoot, I forgot what the album's called already. Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. It was the Golden Casket. The Golden Casket, I believe it was. This Modest Mouse album is on my top 12 so far, I would say. I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. The things that were negative about it, like I said, all about the structuring and everything, I wish they didn't swear too much, but the two songs that I did hear swearing in, they had the swear word in the title, so I knew about it coming up, and it didn't bother me at all. I still enjoyed those two songs a lot. And they are a band that have used swear words on previous albums as well, so it didn't surprise me or anything like that at all, and I know people get mad at me sometimes when I mention it, but it is something that I think about when I'm listening. Doesn't affect my overall score, though. I would definitely not say. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I have too much more to say about this. I'm really excited. I would love it if we got more Modest Mouse albums a little bit more regularly. As I said, this is their album from before this came out 5 years ago, and or 6 years ago, I guess. 5 years ago, I think. And their album before that was 8 years. So we're getting very, very, very long periods of time between albums, and I don't believe that they're doing other things. I do have the Ugly Casanova album here, which Isaac is the singer of, and this album came out in 2002, so that's way long time ago, 19 years ago, I guess, at this point. But I don't think that the band members have other side projects. If they do, let me know in the comments if you get all this way through the video and you have a little bit more information on them than I do. But yeah, I'll just end the video here and say I've got a few things that I'm thinking about doing in the future. I'm toying with the idea of doing some 21 Pilots album listens, because I've never heard any 21 Pilots. I've never listened to a single one of their albums. And every time I've heard one of their songs on the radio and I knew it was 21 Pilots, I always think, man, those drums sound really cool and the production sounds great. Not super, super, super lovey on the vocals. I don't really super love the vocals. But anyway, if anyone's watching this and you think that would be an interesting video for me to record, let me know. And I've got a few albums actually in the mail on the way to me right now that I'm going to be doing reactions to. And I still have my really special Nightwish video that I'm planning to do in the future as well. That's something that I'm really looking forward to. And I know that video is going to be very special to me. And so I want to make sure I take the time to do it right. But for now, that's everything, I guess. Go listen to some music, and if you find something really good, share it with someone. That's always the most important thing to me about music. I love sharing music with people that wouldn't have necessarily found it if I wouldn't have told them about it. So go listen to something good, listen to this album again, spread some love, obviously, to Modest Mouse, the members of the band, and share really good music with the people that you have in your life, and the people that are strangers to you as well. If you can find a way to do it, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. See you in the next video.